Good afternoon, Year 3. It is Wednesday the 3rd of February and this is our topic lesson for the week. So today we are learning to be able to explain the impact of recycling. So to be successful today, we are going to be able to explain what recycling is, and we will also be able to explain how it helps the environment. It says here at the bottom, reduce, reuse and recycle for a happier earth. Where does normal rubbish go? Rubbish is taken to landfill sites like this one.
Most people think of landfill sites as rubbish dumps, but site manager Sean Taylor wishes they didn't.
Let me just say, please don't call it a dump. What we do, we're a highly regulated activity, and hopefully today I can explain to you what we do with the waste that comes to our site.
We make an awful lot of waste, and landfill sites are hives of activity.
On a busy week, we could have 550 lorries each day, 5 days a week. That equates to a yearly figure of around 1 million tonne.
When the rubbish-laden lorries arrive, they're weighed in and double-checked.
All the waste that comes to the landfill site has had a what we call a BCF, basic characterisation form, which explains what the waste is. The guys here at the weighbridge then create a weighbridge ticket, and it's sent on to where it's going to be disposed.
And this is where the disposal takes place.
Most of these trucks you can see on this landfill site are ejectors. They push the waste out so they don't have to tip up. Once the waste has been tipped off, then we use these big machines. We call them compactors, and you'll see he'll come along now and he will roll the waste into the landfill.
But these days, even landfill sites are in the recycling business. This smoking mountain is made up of the organic stuff we chuck out and will be sold back to gardeners as nutrient-rich compost.
Most of our green waste comes from either civic amenity sites or from doorstop collections. And as you can see, the shredder now is going to shred that up. From this area here, it's then put into the windrows where the biological activity will take place. The temperature very soon goes up to about 65-70 degrees, and we turn that each week to get some more air in to help that aerobic process continue. We add moisture and we keep those bugs happy so they do what they're supposed to do. The material now is being screened. Any material that's screened out goes back to the start of the process. The product goes into our final product barn. Before this compost plant here, that green waste would have gone to the landfill. So this now has been turned into a product and sold.
In fact, it's all so environmentally friendly. It seems the wildlife like it too.
So what happens to rubbish that is put in our normal bins? Well, we've got here a chart which shows how long it takes rubbish to decompose. Now, if you remember from when we were writing our letter to Boris Johnson, we learnt about the word decompose, and that means how long it might take something to break down into small pieces until it completely disappears. So we have here an apple core, takes 2 months to decompose, a tin can 50 years, a plastic bag 10 to 20 years, a foamed plastic cup that you might get from McDonald's maybe, or from KFC or Burger King, takes 50 years to decompose. A rubber boot sole, so the sole of a boot, if it's made of rubber, takes 50 to 80 years to decompose. A fishing line, 600 years. A plastic film container, 20 to 30 years. A newspaper, 6 weeks. A paper towel, 2 to 4 weeks. A foamed plastic buoy, 80 years. A woolen sock, 1 to 5 years. A disposable nappy, 450 years. A waxed milk carton, 3 months. A glass bottle, 1 million years. cigarette butt, 1 to 5 years. Compostable packages between 2 and 12 weeks. So some of those I'm sure you were quite shocked at. And obviously if these items can't decompose, they're just going to sit there in the ground or in our oceans, just sitting there, taking up space and emitting poisonous gases into our ozone layer. So we can see here the how long until it's gone. You can pause the video there and have a look at all the different items. So, what can we do to create less rubbish? Obviously, this is a problem. This is why our Earth is having the issues it's having at the moment, because of the amount of rubbish that is being put into the ground or into our oceans. So, what can we do to create less rubbish? Pause the video now and have a think. Okay, let's see if you manage to come up with any of these ideas. Recycle what we can. So the objects that we can recycle, we should. Create a compost from our food waste. So any food that we're throwing away, we can put into a compost bin instead. Reduce the amount of packaging that we buy and complain to companies who use too much packaging. There are different ways that we can buy our food without needing all of that plastic packaging. Reduce the amount of food waste that we create. So making sure you eat your meals, making sure that we're not cooking too much or buying too much from the supermarket so that if we don't eat it, it ends up being thrown away. Reuse our rubbish for something else. So maybe creating something, maybe do some junk modelling using some of our rubbish. Donate unwanted clothes or toys to charity shops instead of throwing them away. We're just going to watch the next video now.
A faraway planet similar to Earth, but ruined by bad environmental choices. A spaceship with 2 aliens and a shipboard computer visit Earth and discover from TV signals that we are making similar mistakes. As the computer collects the data, Rob and Andy's mission is to discover firsthand how to care for the environment.
Andrew, did I ever show you a picture of my house?
Oh, no, let's have a look. Nice, tidy garden.
Yeah, certainly a little bit tidier than yours.
We never really did sort out the problem of getting rid of waste, did we? I wonder if Earth people act more responsibly when it comes to getting rid of rubbish. Ooh, where are we, Rob?
We're just outside Manchester. And look, people have taken all these unwanted clothes and have sorted them so they can be reused. I see many of the clothes go to vintage clothing shops or are sent overseas.
That's excellent.
The really used or worn items are shredded down to make like industrial cleaning cloths. What are you all doing?
Well, when people don't want things anymore, it's very wasteful to throw them in the bin.
Yeah, often things can be reused. I gave some old clothes I didn't want anymore to this place, and they'll go to people who do want them.
We're going to ask our spaceship computer for more information on why what you're doing here is so important.
Hello, I'm Sid the computer. I've discovered that as the population of the world increases, the problem of what to do with waste increases too. Rubbish tips called landfill sites are filling up fast. Some irresponsible people dump rubbish by the side of the road, woodlands, rivers, oceans and seas. In fact, anywhere. They just don't care. So, for example, food and organic waste in the ocean can turn into food that sea creatures can eat. But we all use plastics a lot, and plastics are a real problem as they never fully decompose into anything useful. Plastics break down into smaller particles, releasing chemicals that sea animals mistake for food, and this passes toxic chemicals into the food chain. In the end, these dangerous chemicals can even end up in human food. From my research, I've found the best way to deal with waste is to think about the 4 R's. Reduce, reuse, recycle and rethink. reduce. Cut down the quantity of waste you and your family produce in the first place. Shopping with your own sturdy bags is an example, so you don't throw away plastic bags that can only be used a few times at the most. Complain to companies that use too much packaging. They need to get the message. For example, buy loose fruit rather than pre-packaged fruit. That way, you can also pick the nicest. Reuse. This can be real fun, making new things out of old junk. Finding new purposes for old unwanted things, giving new life to old rubbish. All sorts of things can be made into flower pots. And here we see some cubs doing an activity creating bird feeders for the garden made out of old drinks bottles and a couple of wooden spoons. Recycle. Separate out waste into different categories, like the people are doing at this local tip. And waste can often be very useful. For example, metals and wood can be recycled into new building materials, and plastic bottles can be churned up in a factory and made into things like football kits. And rethink. It's up to all of us to be more responsible in what we consume and throw away. Back over to you.
I took some of the rubbish off the spaceship. Will you come and help me recycle it down the tip?
Sid, beam us up.
Ah, here we are. Right. What does this sign mean?
It means it's possible to be recycled after use.
We've learned that most places in the UK have great recycling schemes. So a house could have different bins to separate paper and card, glass and tins, food and garden waste, as well as general waste that can't be recycled.
If you have a lot of rubbish, you can come to places like this, where there's even more categories for waste.
So what about all this? Well, anything that can't be recycled can be made into green energy. Just about everything here has got a positive use. You two haven't been talking rubbish at all.
That's enough laughter. You need to get back to the spaceship and upload this information.
So let's see if you were paying attention to the video. What do the 4 R's stand for? Pause the video now, have a think. See if you can remember each one and what each one meant. Okay, let's reveal. See how many you remembered. So we've got reduce, which means reducing the amount of food and packaging that we buy and we use. We then have reuse. So can we use any of our rubbish again for something else? Maybe for a bit of junk modelling, or maybe to make something useful like flower pots or pencil cases. Recycle. Recycle the products that we can. Put them into different bins so that they can be taken to recycling centres and disposed of in that way. And that means that those things will then be able to be turned into something else. And finally, rethink. We need to rethink how we do things on a day-to-day basis. Rethink what we buy from the supermarket. Rethink what we throw away. Rethink everything that we do in our daily life to be able to help our planet. Okay, so your activity today is going to be to sort different items into the correct bins. So you are going to be doing some recycling today. Imagine you are a recycling machine and you have to sort all of the different rubbish items into the correct bins. Now this has been emailed to your school email address, so you can either print it out if you want to, or you can choose to just print the bins and then draw your own items to sort into the bins and cut them out. Or you could just print the items out and then create your own bins. But I'm just going to go through with you now what we have on the document. Now, it might be that you can't print this, and that's absolutely fine. If you can't, you can just create your own using a few different pieces of paper. So we've got all our items here. You can pause the video when you need to if you want to make a note of any of these, ready for when you are drawing or writing them out. So we've got 2 pages there of different items for you to sort. We've then got our bins. So we have a can bin. So only cans can go in there. A paper and card bin. A plastic bin. A compost bin. a glass bin, a clothes bin, reusable items bin, and a waste bin for anything else that doesn't fit into any of the other bins. Okay, so you can either print all or part of this document, or you can create your own, but your job is to sort those items above into the correct bins. Now, once you have done that, you can tweet a photo and tag at Swingate Primary, or you can email your learning to your teacher at the Year 3 email address. If you do want to go back and look over anything in this video, then please do. Remember, you can pause it where you need to help. And to end our lesson, I've got some thinking questions for you. What items did you not realise were recyclable? So are any of the items there? Or are there any items that you've learnt about today that you didn't actually know you could recycle? And the second question, what changes are you now going to make at home to make sure that you are helping the planet by recycling and changing some of the things you do? What is it you're going to do to change? Okay, I'm looking forward to see what you all got up to. Have fun. Bye everybody.